One of the most important skills that has been taught to me, and I'm still practicing as well right now, I'm still learning and practicing, that has a very significant impact on my life, on my quality of life, is the skill to differentiate between event and experience. Everybody, we all want to have positive experiences in our life. If I ask you, can we have that 100% of all our experience in our life, 100%, all of them are positive experiences? Is that possible? Most likely you will say, no, it's not possible. 100% all positive experiences? No. And I believe that too. But if I ask you, is it possible that maybe not 100%, but 90% of our experiences are positive experiences? Now, whatever your answer is, that shows your current belief about that particular topic. I personally believe that it is possible. Other people will believe otherwise, and that's okay. But I choose to believe that way. And I have experienced so far, since I learned this skill, that it is very much possible. So what do I mean? Differentiating between event and experience. Let's start with the first one. Events, well, they're basically the event that happened in your life. Our lives is basically one event after another. And the nature of events in our life is that most of the events in our lives are within our control. Most of them, but not all of them, of course, as you probably already know. Not all of the events in our lives are within our control, even though most of them are. Both the events that we like and the ones that we dislike, the ones that we don't like. For example, the other day I was waiting in line to order a coffee, and 3 persons in front of me apparently told the person working there that he wants to buy coffee for the next 3 people behind him. That includes me. I was the 3rd one. So when I was offered that latte by the people who was working there when I was about to order, so I said, sure, why not? I'll take it. That's beyond my control, and that's quite pleasant. However, for example, somebody could have been, bringing a hot soup, and then stumbled, and then the soup can just fall down on my lap, on my shirt, and that's not pleasant, and that's also outside of my control. So that's the nature of events. There are events, whether the ones that are pleasant or the ones that are unpleasant, that could also happen outside of our control. But remember, the majority of the events in our lives, they are within our control. But with experience, and experience is the meaning that we give to a particular event. Experience is the meaning that we give to a particular event that happened in our life. So who's giving the meaning? We do. So how many percent of control that we actually have? 100%. We have full control of what kind of meaning that we actually want to give. Actually, we do have that control, but a lot of times we don't realize it. We tend to be reactive instead of responsive. What's the difference between reactive and responsive? In my definition, this is reactive. My left palm and my right palm are going to, clash together, and let's see what happens. When they hit, instantly you can hear the sound of the clap. That's a reaction. There's no pause in between. When this met this, instantly, that's a reaction. No pause in between. But to be responsive, or at least what I'm talking about here when I'm talking about being responsive, not just reactive, is to be aware that there's this tiny moment between something happened, an event that happened, and how you're going to respond to it. What kind of attitude that you're going to use. Which of your attitude is going to show up. It all basically depended on which perspective you're going to use in that situation, in that moment, in that event. And which perspective you're going to use is also influenced by your awareness that you actually have options. But most of the times people are not aware that they have options of what kind of meaning that they want to give. So to go back, experience is the meaning that you give to a particular event. Let's use an example. I'm sure you have experienced an event in your life when after it happened, or you felt angry or disappointed or sad, but then later, after a week, a month, a year maybe you're joining with you're meeting your friends or family, and then one of them is talking about a situation which is similar to what happened to you in the past that made you sad or angry or disappointed. And then you start to jump in, you know what? I've had experience like that as well. Blah, 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 blah. And you start talking about that event, but you are no longer talking about it in a sad state or an angry state or a disappointed state. But even you talk about it like you even said it was a really great learning experience. So how come? The event has not changed. It's still the same event. But how come when it happened, just when it happened, you said it's a bad experience, but after a while, you said it's a great experience, it's a learning experience for me? Because you already gave a different meaning to what happened. Hence, it became a different experience. So ideally, of course, we don't need to wait that long to give a different meaning to that event, so it becomes a different experience. But it takes an awareness from our side to know that you can give different meaning. And until you give a different meaning to that event, it will still stay as a bad experience, if you gave it a bad meaning, of course. Even something as simple as having to wait in line. When you go to a doctor or when you go somewhere to the DMVs, or you're taking the number and then, my God, it's still number 3 and now I got number 40. You have options of what kind of meaning that you want to give to that event. If you give it, I cannot believe why this always happens to me, why I always get the last number, blah, blah. Of course, if that's the kind of meaning that you give to that situation, that is a bad experience. You are creating a bad experience. And I'm not saying that we should be like, lying to ourselves or like denying. No, I'm not saying that like this is like self-denial. We actually acknowledge that this is not pleasant. This is not what I expected. And this does not feel good. So we acknowledge that. However, you see, so it's not period, but it's a comma. This is not pleasant. However, this is also an opportunity for me to improve my patience, for example. I've been wanting to become a more patient person. I've been reading about it. I always wonder how people can be so patient. Why don't I start from here? Just waiting. So you can give that kind of meaning, and there are so many other options that you can give. You don't have to give only one meaning to what happened. You can give more than one meaning to a particular event. So when the majority of the meanings, the label that you give to a particular event are negative, then it becomes a bad experience. It's a negative experience. But if you're also aware that you have other options, and then you use that options to also see that situation from another perspective, because in order for you to be able to give a different meaning to what happened, it requires you to change your perspective. So you can see from a different perspective. So, apparently it's not dark in here. If I'm walking around with the sunglasses because it was really bright outside, and so it's been useful for me, but then when the day starts to get dark and I'm even entering an indoor place, but I still have not changed my sunglasses, I haven't taken it off, things will look very dark. Yes, in that situation when it was really bright, my approach, my perspective with the sunglasses is very useful. But now the situation has changed. It's a different event. If I keep using the same perspective, the same way of seeing things, it is no longer beneficial for me. So I need to change my perspective. I need to use different way of seeing things. Otherwise, my approach, my way of seeing things will not benefit me. And then we need to ask ourselves, what kind of perspective that would help me in this situation? What kind of perspective that would be beneficial for me? Because I don't want to get out of this situation, of this event, without gaining anything positive. Remember that you always have the opportunity to come out from any situation by gaining something positive out of it. And might as well, right? If the event is already unpleasant, to come out of that without gaining anything positive is a double loss. And in order for us to gain something, it requires us to change our perspective. And to do that, it requires us to be aware that you have the options. That I have the option, you have the option. It starts from there. And this, like I said at the beginning, is a skill. And why do I say it is a skill? Because it can be learned. I'm living proof, even though I'm still learning, but I know where I was. I was very reactive. And it's so exhausting to live like that. It doesn't feel good. Some of you definitely know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, good for you. But some of you do know what I'm talking about. It's exhausting to live like that. And I learned, and the thing about skill is that the first few times when you practice, it feels, more exhausting. Because that's the nature of every skill. The first time you learn to ride a bike, it requires more energy, more focus. But the more you practice, the more you get used to it, the more it becomes natural. And there are at least two ways to know and to identify whether your skill has improved or not when it comes to giving meaning. One is by generally how you feel and how you are able to to give a positive meaning to what happened, a more beneficial meaning to what happened. Second way is by how long do you feel negative when something unpleasant happened? I'll give you an example. Back then, when something bad happened to me, when somebody lied to me or rejected me, or I experienced some failures, I could go, dwelling in sadness or disappointment for, if not days, at least days, if not weeks. But the more I learn and practice this, I notice that duration of dwelling in this negative emotion was decreasing and decreasing and decreasing and decreasing from weeks to days to hours to minutes. So that's also a sign that you are improving in your ability to give better meaning to what happened. And it's not lying again, because events are neutral. Things that happen, they are neutral. The thing that could make it bad or good, positive or negative, is basically the meaning that we give. The thing that could make it positive or negative, bad or good experience, are just basically by the meaning that we give to it. And we have full control, actually, on what meanings that you want to give. So somebody said that human beings is a meaning-making machine. And that is absolutely true. We always give meaning to what happened. But oftentimes, we don't even realize it. But I hope, by me sharing this, maybe some of you already know about what I'm talking about. Maybe this could be a good reminder. Some of you, maybe the first time you heard about this. So this is something new that you can also apply. But all of that, regardless, all of that, it's not about listening to what I'm saying. It's about applying it. And by applying, it means you practice. It means you will experience some failure, but evaluate and then try again. Evaluate, try again. That's the cycle of learning and growing. I'm still failing from time to time, but again, I'm also improving as well from time to time as well. The more you practice, the more you will improve your skill. I hope this is useful, and I hope you use it. Until next time. Very quickly, there's a research that reveals a universal pattern of phases that people go through in their journey of discovering and living their life purpose. And you can learn and find out in which phase am I in right now, and what's the next phase, and most importantly, how do I get there? Find your answers in Uncover Your Unique Purpose, a comprehensive and practical guide to discovering your life purpose. It's a research-based book, and as well covered with all the exercise you will need to discover your unique purpose. Get this book now and take a real step to your most unique self-discovery journey. This book is available on Amazon worldwide.